Hey y'all, it's Kate from the Apothecary and welcome back to my channel. I am here with our January reading wrap up and my February TBR. This is going to be a longer video mostly because my February TBR kind of exploded, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Let me first wrap up everything that I finished reading in January. This includes 1 essay, 3 short stories, 2 novellas, 3 novels, and 1 nonfiction book, 1 4.5 star, 1 4 star, 2 3.5 stars, and 2 3-star reads. So I'm going to do this in a little bit different order than we usually do, and instead of going in order of the way that I finish these reads, I'm going to clump them together in types of reads that they were. So first up, we have the essay that I read in January, which is our Joan Didion essay of the month, Notes Toward a Dream Politic. This one was a weird essay for me. From what I was able to gather, it was kind of 4 seemingly random snippets of the Western U.S. lifestyles that were both very different from each other, but also similar in a weird way. I enjoyed it, but definitely not one of my favorite essays of hers. Our short story, so we have 3 short stories that I read for Short Story Sunday. This includes Vignette by Jim Butcher. I absolutely loved this short story so much. So good. In this short story, Harry Dresden and Bob are creating an ad to try to attract more work for Harry Dresden. I have one quote from the intro actually of this. Jim Butcher wrote, "I'm not even sure I can claim to be the author of this piece, since it was almost entirely written by a coalition of caffeine molecules and exhausted twitches." And that just set the whole tone for the short story, and I absolutely loved it. The next short story that I read was Angel's Laundromat by Lucia Berlin, and this was kind of taking what's an almost everyday experience, doing laundry, that then becomes no longer every day, because she talks about the people that you notice at these everyday occurrences, and then one day they're not there. And you mean to go and talk to them, you mean to learn their stories, but it's always too late. You always notice when they're not there instead of when they're there. And then my third and final short story for January that I read was called Among the Thorns by Veronica Shanos. This was located in a collection of short stories called Burning Girls and Other Stories, where the author takes Jewish stories, Jewish tales, fables, everything, and turns them into her own stories by building them around female protagonists, strong female protagonists. So this short story was, she took the tale of the dancing Jew and turned it into a tale of vengeance. The dancing Jew's daughter essentially is out to seek revenge for her father. And the one quote I have from this short story is, "Time passed, and perhaps that is the worst betrayal of all, for life without my father to have become normal." And that just sums up grief of a loved one so well. You know life has to go on, but you don't want it to, because that means that eventually someday life without that person is going to become the new normal. Now onto the novellas that I've read. There are 2 novellas, and this was for our Sphinx Championship competition. These are the last 2 semifinalists I read. Bad Grains by Suzanne Smith. This one I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I absolutely loved it. Our 11-year-old main character, Jo, loves Halloween, but she has to save her brother and his friends when they disappear, and she's the only one in town that remembers them. I love this novella so much. It was so much fun. Our other novella that I read was The Demon's Dagger by Douglas Lumsden. This one I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This was a supernatural fantasy dark noir. It was a weird book for me. It was not the right book for me. But because it made it to the semifinals, it was the right book for someone out there. So Kudos to Douglas Lumsden for making it this far. Next up, we have the novels that I finished in January. There are 3 novels that I finished, including Book of Night by Holly Black. This one I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the beginning and I really enjoyed the end, but the middle just felt like it was too long for me. My quote from Book of Night is, "Psychics were therapists for people who couldn't admit they needed therapy. They were magic for people who desperately needed a little magic back before magic was real." And I just loved that quote. Next up, we have Bounty by J.D. Cunningham. This one I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This was our main character was part cyborg, part human. During the day, she worked for the Baltimore police. At night, she was a superhero vigilante. And I really, really enjoyed this one. Our quote from Bounty is, "If nothing else, inappropriate humor was a way to relieve that stress. A way to keep one's sanity even in the face of humanity's worst capabilities." I loved it so much. And then the last novel that I finished in January was Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I listened to the audiobook version of this, narrated by Maggie Gyllenhaal. This one I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars, including an extra half star for Maggie Gyllenhaal's narration of this book. She did an absolutely fantastic job narrating this action-packed, high drama-filled Russian classic, Anna Karenina. And then the last book that I finished in January is my nonfiction book, You Say More Than You Think, a 7-day plan for using the new body language to get what you want by Janine Driver. This one I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I expected something different out of this book. I wanted, kind of in a strange way, more self-help, less how to manipulate people using body language or read other people's body languages to manipulate them or situations you're in. But I did quit one quote that I thought was really good. A truth wizard, which I didn't even know was a thing, is a person who's been scientifically proven to detect lies accurately at least 80% of the time. So part of the reason why my February TBR is so long, because I have many books carrying over from January into February, not including the short story collections that I started in January. These include A Grave for Us All, The Ark. This is the second book in the Crown and Tide series by Michael Roberti. This is his best writing yet. I absolutely love this, and I've been having a great time giving Michael feedback as I'm reading this so he can improve it before everyone else gets to read it. Black Veil by Christian Britton, which is book 4 in the Green Rider series. Not having such a great time with this one, but I'm gonna stick through and finish this up since I'm nearly to the end. I think I think about 75% of the way in this book. The Garden Gnome by Jeff McIntyre is starting to really come together with all of its plot lines, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this book ends up. The Gathering Storm by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson, book 12 in the Wheel of Time series. Y'all, this book, so much is happening in this book. As soon as I started it, I knew this was a book I had to do a true immersion read and not a more audiobook read than anything. So this book is taking me longer to get through because I'm reading only when I have the physical copy in front of me, but so much is happening in this book. It is so good. Definitely one of my favorite in this series so far. Blood Rights by Jim Butcher. This is book 6 in the Dresden series. I am loving this. This is definitely my favorite book in this series so far. It is hilarious. It's action-packed, and honestly, so much is happening in it. I love it. The Jane Austen collection, which is a collection of, I think it's 5 of Jane Austen's best books, her most known works. I've made it through Sense and Sensibility, and I'm now on Pride and Prejudice, and I'm loving this full cast audiobook collection. That leads me to my February TBR, which is still, even not counting my carryovers, it's still a big TBR. Kind of exploded, kind of got away from me, but hopefully I can get to at least most of these, if not start all of them. We have The Towers of Midnight, book 13 in the Wheel of Time series. An Endless Fire, which is my patron pick, picked by Kate. This is the second book in the duology of, I forget the name of the duology, by Rebecca Ross. The first book was A River Enchanted, which is a book that I've become obsessed with and has made it really, really far in my book Battles of the Book series. Beach Read, which is a buddy read with Leslie at the Nerdy Narrative. Seekers, which is a book by Troy Nolaton and my self-pub book for February. Children of the Black Moon, which is book 2 in the Gunslingers and Spellbinders series. I think I got that series title right, by Joseph John Lee. I am really excited to read this one, so then I can read the arc for book 3 next month in March. The Delve, this is by Daniel Fitzgerald, also known as Danny Finn on Twitter. I was supposed to read this in January, but I didn't get to it, but I really want to, so I'm carrying this over from January into February and hoping to start this once I finish one of my 2 ebook reads that I'm going on right now. And then I have the first 3 Sphinx finalists that I have to read: Ruins of Smoke, A Wolf in Thieves' Clothing, and We're All Monsters Here. These I am so excited to read. I've heard such fantastic things about all of these novellas, and at least 2 of these authors I've heard amazing things about, and I know I'm absolutely going to love. And this final round is going to be so hard to pick who is our top winner for the finalists for the Sphinx Championship Series. That is my January reading wrap-up, my February TBR. Let me know in the comments below what was your favorite reading moment from January and what are you looking forward to reading the most in February. As always, my Patreon and my Discord information will be in the description below. Keep reading, and I love you all to the moon and back. Bye.